Okay, so guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're keeping well. Now, we've just seen the current events unfold in the Middle East as it relates to Syria. We've seen Assad's regime has been toppled by rebels. So I'm going to be honest, I don't keep up to date with politics in the Middle East or what's going on there, but I want to see what effect that has on the United Kingdom and Europe. You know, what does this mean? You know, I'm going to be watching a conversation with Julia Hartley-Brewer, and she's going to bring up some very, very good points. You know, does that mean that more Christian asylum seekers are going to be coming in? Does this give an opportunity for a lot of Muslims that want to pose as Christians, you know, and run away from this regime? Does it mean that they will now be pardoned and given asylum in the United Kingdom / Europe? What does this mean? Does this mean that Syrians in the UK and Europe are free to go back there? Let's just have a quick look at everything going on and how that affects Europe and more specifically United Kingdom, because I'm more focused on what happens in the UK. So let's just see how everything unfolds.
How concerned are you, Sam?
I'm enormously concerned, and I'll tell you why. Because there is literally nothing standing between these people and our shores and our streets. Any one of these people leaving, they were called camps, right? But in actual fact, they were basically prisons. There was soldiers around the outside from various rebel factions and or the Syrian government keeping these incredibly dangerous people in there. All of that is broken down, and they are now able to walk across land, sea, all the way here into the UK, smuggle themselves across in a boat, and they will be here. And once they're here, we know we will never, ever, ever get rid of these.
We'll give them a nice hotel room, 3 meals a day.
And look, the same applies to Miss Begum, right? Yeah. Shamima Begum can now, we presume, walk out of the camp, our royal camp out there in Syria that we know that she's been stuck in for the past few years. If she's smart enough to pay a people smuggler to get her across Europe...
She was smart enough as a teenage girl to get to Syria. Pretty sure she could manage it as a 25-year-old.
And I tell you the truth, it's probably harder for her to get out of this country and into Syria than it is to smuggle herself back into our country. That is how porous our borders are. And look, she'll be back here. And despite the fact we stripped her of her citizenship, despite the fact that MI5 have told us that she was stitching suicide vests together, despite the fact that she's made it very clear she hates this country and everything we stand for, she will be here, she will be stuck, she will be here at our expense, we will be paying for it, and we will never, ever, ever get rid of her. Citizenship be damned.
And she will be free. My argument has always been she was British, she renounced her British citizenship. I would rather she was here and behind bars and not a threat to other people. The security services reckon she is absolutely a threat to this country. She's totally and utterly radicalised. Do not believe all the sort of, oh, I'm looking so Western now. No, she did not think she'd done anything wrong. She thought everything was worth it when she was first found in that camp. Now,
just very quickly, Shamima Begum, that's one subject area that I am familiar with and I do know. I covered it like a few weeks ago, and this gives an opportunity for her to come back to the United Kingdom. And like he rightly said, when she comes back, she ain't going nowhere. There's going to be no taking her to, where's she from, Bangladesh? There's going to be none of that. She doesn't even have a Bangladesh passport. So there's going to be none of that. She will be here, and she'll be here at the expense of the British taxpayer. So this gives her now an opportunity to say, hey, rebels are here. Oh my days, I need to leave. It's so crazy here. And when she went to Syria just under a decade ago, when she was 16 years old, she knew and understood what she was getting herself into. And now she's there. She's been saying she wants to come back. She's been denied. I don't know why it was up for discussion and debate. What's there to debate? She wanted to fight for the Islamic State. Had they prevailed, she would have still been there. She was married to one of the guys or something, and she was stitching up vests, suicide vests, and she saw a chopped head in the bin. This is crazy, and we debating this in the UK, putting public safety at risk because of Shamima Begum. She's made her bed. And now all of a sudden she's going to come up with one story about how, oh my gosh, they've just taken control. You know, it's just gone tits up here. We need to come back to I need to come back and find a way back to the United Kingdom. And I'm sure there will be a debate about that again very, very soon, when in reality she's made her bed and now she needs to lay in it, and that is in Syria. So yeah, but anyway, let's go on.
Now, she is a danger to us. The reality is, if she spent even 2 months behind bars here, you know, who are we kidding? She's going to be free on our street. She's a danger. We cannot have her back in this country. But this is the thing. This Sir Alex Dearlove is the former MI6 chief. Apologies, Sir Alex Younger. Sorry, apologies, MI6 chief. And he was in charge of MI6, you know, around the time all this the chaos was happening. You know, he's talking about, you know, there are thousands of jihadis. At least 70 Brits are being held in these camps. 15 men, jihadi fighters. 20 of their wives, the jihadi brides, but also 40 children. Now, there's been lots of sympathy for the children. Again, I'm really sorry the kids are being brought up in these circumstances, but do I want a load of radicalised kids, the children of Islamic radicals? No, I don't. Sorry. No, I'm sorry. I just don't. We've got to prioritise our country. We've already...
By the way, just for her saying that, they're going to deem her as Islamic. She's an Islamophobe, she's racist, she's this, she's a bigot. Just for her saying that she doesn't want some radicalised Islamists on the streets of the United Kingdom, they'll deem her as a bigot and an Islamophobe, all of that. So yeah.
We've got a huge number of Syrian asylum seekers. 1 in 6 of all those granted refugee status in this country are Syrian. Pretty much a shoo-in. You know, you really have to do something very wrong for you to not get your, once you've actually got your asylum application process, not to get that. But we've had 6,500 Syrians claiming asylum almost here. Almost entirely those people who come over on those Channel boat crossings. There's some deal going on with the Germans about supplying of boats and things. No chance at all that's going to be stopped. And this is an interesting thing. David Lammy, the Foreign Secretary, yesterday, he was referring to Bashar al-Assad as the rat of Damascus, fleeing to Moscow with his tail between his legs and all of that. But he was talking about how, you know, we've got people who are, you know, going to be, you know, many Syrians saying they want to go back to Syria. But, you know, if it all goes horribly wrong, as let's face it, most of us suspect it will, because we are talking about this rebel group being effectively, you know, they're jihadists. They may not be quite ISIS or Al-Qaeda, but they're jihadists. Then we'll see that flow back again. And there's just no evidence that Europe is able to withstand, you know, hordes of people arriving from Syria. I mean, and we've got bad dealings with Erdogan in Turkey. He's kept millions in Syria in return for billions and billions in aid from the West. I mean, this is going to be an absolute abject disaster. People cheering on the streets and everyone's saying, isn't it wonderful that Assad's gone? But the reality is, it could be an awful lot worse very, very soon.
Do you know what? I actually don't agree. I think it's just going to be the same old, same old. We've had all of these people coming across claiming they're Syrians. By the way, we've got no idea how many of them actually are Syrians or aren't Syrians. But if you claim...
There are 3 or 4 countries, Afghanistan, Syria, you're going to be allowed to stay.
You get 99% acceptance rates. So they've all been saying they're democracy activists. I guarantee they're now all going to say they're Christian converts, they're gay or whatever, so they still can't go back. People are not coming across, in my view, and this is a controversial opinion, but people are not coming across because of danger or war or anything else. They're coming across, and I don't blame them for this, because it's a good life in the UK, because you're off to a better future, because you're going to earn quite a bit more money. And that's a perfectly legitimate opinion. But
however,
we cannot afford to consume half of the Arab world plus Africa. We just can't, right? Now, 30% of men on the African continent of the relevant age bracket say they want to come to the UK or come to the Western world. There's no way we could absorb that. It's just ridiculous. So what I think is we're going to continue to see what Douglas Murray calls the slow death of Europe, in which millions upon millions of people continue to gradually but steadily but consistently make their way over to our shores, and our broken system won't be able to deal with the fact that we're looking at a systemic flaw.
And then we end up with, I mean, again, things that people don't talk about, but then we end up with an MP in the House of Commons calling on the Prime Minister to bring in a blasphemy law, and we have police across the country. It's not on Twitter, on X, posting notices about how, you know, if you're going to your Christmas market, do be careful, we'll be there to keep you safe. What are we being careful for? What is the threat? Why are there bollards everywhere? What is the threat we're worried about? What is it? Can anyone remember what that threat is? Because I don't remember this being an issue, you know, 20 years ago, even 15 years ago, and suddenly now we need to be protected when we go out Christmas shopping. Why?
Answer: Islamists. It's the answer, but politicians, MPs will just dance around the topic. No, it could just be a crazy guy. You just never know. It could be a mentally unwell person. You know, you just don't know what can happen when we understand that Islamists have been threatening to attack the market. You know, many weeks ago, they were threatening to attack it. So if they do attack it, they've said what they want to do. If they carry that out, then who else could it be? Surely you should be warning the public against those guys, but they don't. Political correctness consumes them, and they don't even live in the real world as well, most of these politicians, so they couldn't even care less.
What's changed? What's happened? Why do we need to be protected going Christmas shopping? Does anyone, do call in and let me know, because the police don't want to say anything, the politicians don't want to say anything, and everyone's just going to pretend everything's absolutely fine when we have imported a problem in our country. Now, most people who come to this country just want to make a better life for themselves, as you say, but we don't know who people are. We've got no idea. 90% of the people coming on the Channel migrant boats, I mean, those boats, they throw away their documentation. As you say, or I'm from Syria. Sure you are. How are we proving this? What we're doing, DNA testing? We don't even check whether or not they're 14 or 24 when they claim to be kids.
Yeah, and strangely enough, every time we do the dental checks, a significant percentage of them, at the very least, turn out to be adults of, you know, a young, as Nigel Farage would say, fighting age. And look, that's reality.
But these, of course, are all the pro-democracy activists who have been telling you, they all just happen to be young men.
It just so happens that the most vulnerable people in the Middle East, all of those that are gravest danger, in most desperate need of our compassion, are men. In their 20s, who happen to have just enough money to pay dangerous criminals to smuggle them into our country.
It's an absolute joke, isn't it? I mean, I want to know, how concerned are you about this? Because if you're not, I mean, wake up. I mean, just wake up. Now, of course, we'll be accused of xenophobia, bigotry, Islamophobia. I mean, every single thing. I'm sorry. This is a third world country. Well, it's certainly been bombed back into the medieval ages by Assad, his awful leader. I would like the people of Syria to live in a free and happy, inclusive democracy. I'm not optimistic. It's not worked out pretty much anywhere else since the Arab Spring, so I'm not optimistic. But I'm not entirely sure why, when it doesn't work out, it has to become our problem. I mean, it does become our problem. We need to guard against it. That's why I'm talking about it now, because we need to talk about it. But I'm not sure that the solution is people just turning up on our shores or turning up across Europe. And it is, as you say, and as Douglas Murray's brilliant book on this issue, we are seeing a cultural sort of annihilation going on in Europe, and our politicians are only just vaguely beginning to wake up to it, simply because voters are saying, no, we're seeing it. You're all living in you've got your chauffeurs, your nice homes, in your nice leafy suburbs. You are not living the reality of this. And you're not at the Christmas markets where apparently, we're going to face imminent death at any point. I think a lot of people will be talking about, are we going to get another wave of the attacks we had? Remember back in 2017, we had 3 or 4 in a row, and it really was just like, when is the next bomb going off, or when is the next car going to be driven into people? I just don't think we should be living like this. I don't think we should think this is something that we just put up with and we accept, and yet we import people to this country or allow them to stay in this country, and we don't know who they are and whether or not they could do us wrong. Do get in touch, 0344 4991.
So look, she's spitting a lot of facts. There's a lot of people coming in. Mass immigration at the rate it's happening can prove to be a problem for any nation. Mass immigration at the rates it's happening in Europe can prove to be a huge problem. Now, and on top of that, the lack of assimilation. There is no assimilation happening. I've been speaking about this a lot and talking about this, the lack of assimilation from people coming in. They want to keep their culture. They want to, Kemi Badenoch said it as well, they're here for 30, 40 years, cannot speak English. I mean, how does that happen? You're clearly not assimilating to, British culture. You're not assimilating to British culture. It's just like, let me come here. I know you give a bunch of benefits. Let me just benefit off of the benefits that you are giving me, and let me not in any way, shape or form try to understand or honor the culture of Britain at all. It's just a gimme scheme. So assimilation and mass immigration it will prove to be a problem for any nation. And even in America, that's one of the main reasons why they voted Trump, because of it's too much. Even black people in America were saying, listen, it's just too much. I'm sorry. I have nothing against no one. And we covered it on this channel. They're like, I have nothing against no one. I'm in Chicago. I have a lot of people from Mexico here. They're getting all the benefits. All the Haitians are getting all the benefits. What about us? We've been there for hundreds of years. We're not getting nothing. We're being looked past. So, you know, I'm sorry, Trump has to be the guy. So yeah. Alright guys, so that's the end of the video. I thought I was just gonna pause it and talk, but I've played it and that's the end of the segment. They're talking about what happened in America with Brian Thompson, the UHC CEO that got gunned down in New York. But yeah, what does that mean? Guys, let me know in the comment section what you think down below. Like, comment and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts on the whole situation. What does this mean? Does this mean that the UK are now going to be accommodating more asylum seekers? Does it mean that, you know, you're going to have a lot of radicals that are going to say, hey, you know, Europe looks real juicy. You know, I'm going to file an application, an asylum claim when I get there to say that I'm a Christian, or I'm part of the LGBTQ plus community, or I'm being persecuted back home for something. Are you going to get people from neighboring nations that aren't even Syrian saying, hey, I'm going to benefit from this, and this gives me a reason to go to Europe and just claim asylum and be placed in a 4-star hotel, 3 hot meals a day? Anyway, guys, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you next video.